you're struggling to get 3 stars at Town Hall 16, we'll break down the top 5 best attack strategies that you need to be using right now. Kicking us off at number 5 is the Mass Valkyrie, featuring 32 Valkyries in this strategy. Pretty much, it's a fairly easy strategy to understand. You're going to start by funneling, where you're going to use the Queen with her giant arrow to set up one side of the funnel. You should break open a wall in order to make sure that you can get your troops in. On the other side of the base, you're using your siege barrack with a wall break in order to clear another compartment. With the Queen's giant arrow, she can also activate invisibility spell towers if they're within the core. So just keep that in mind while you're using the giant arrow to provide some funneling. This really just leaves your Valkyries, where you're sending in the Grand Warden, Apprentice Warden, and Barbarian King to help. An initial wall break should be very important to get a little bit deeper in before you use an early Grand Warden ability. This will protect all of your Valkyries and of course keep them healed. You should also be using 4 earthquake spells in this area in order to open up a lot more of the base. While this is going on, once both spell towers are activated within the core, use the overgrowth over the town hall. This allows you to just negate all of those buildings and allows your Valkyries to take a jump spell and get even deeper in the base, clearing out more buildings in the process. This also allows you to save onto your Barbarian King's ability for the town hall within the core. So once that overgrowth expires, you can use your Barbarian King ability and absolutely tear through the core. The Valkyries in the process can clear other buildings that are being tanked for by your king, which can definitely give you a lot of value and help you clear a larger area in the base. Now let's back up a little bit, but we have our Royal Champion going in as well. Keep in mind that having that back-end Royal Champion while your Valkyries and Barbarian King are doing their own thing is pretty important. You want to make sure that any free spells that you have are either used with your Valkyries or with your Royal Champion, as dealing with something like single Infernos is definitely nothing fun. Outside of that, though, just want to make sure that you're able to very easily get through while having the Haste Hog ability to absolutely sweep through a bunch of defenses and very easily 3-star with something like this. Coming in at number 4 is my personal favorite strategy, the Mass Druid. This is a very fun and very strong army. You're going to start, though, with the Fireball. This is going to be used in order to remove a plethora of defenses and value. But in order to use it, you first need to clear out some defenses on the outside. This then allows you to use 1 to 3 invisibility spells to lock onto something like a spell tower in this case, and using 1 to 2 earthquakes to remove it. If you do want to clear the town hall with the Fireball, you're going to need 3 earthquakes, but also the giant arrow in order to snipe it down and easily get rid of it. Now, you don't have to do this. You can still go in for a smaller area, like a scatter shot, Inferno Tower, maybe the Eagle Artillery. All of that will still work. But in this situation, getting rid of the town hall and the enemy CC and a bunch of other value, including the monolith, made a lot of sense before you lure over your warden to start your Mass Druid portion. From here, you're going to lure over your warden. You want to make sure that you have your king, queen, apprentice warden, and some of your druids to start moving in with everything. Other than this, you have a root rider to provide support for your attack. This is going to allow you to pretty much open walls without the need of a super wall breaker. You do want to make sure though that you are funneling everything in. So this means the siege barrack is your best siege machine in order to help set the funnel and get everything in. Now you are possibly going to be facing single target Infernos, and if they lock onto your king, it's not really a good thing, but you might want to use an early king ability in order to help deal with that, so your king can still tank and have a lot of healing, and that way he can still clear through a majority of defenses. So even if he dies early, you should still be completely fine. Other than this, you just want to make sure that you're constantly sprinkling in druids to move in with your heroes, but you'll also want to have some of them go in with your royal champion, which is going to usually go more on the back end side of the base. You do have a jump spell that you can use to enter deeper into the base once possibly the root rider dies, or you have, a lack of ways to get through walls. The jump spell is going to allow you to connect a lot better. As for the rage spells, you want to consistently use them to power up all of your troops. This includes any healers you might have from something like a giant arrow and the healer puppets alongside the druids. Other than this, it's going to help everything, including the royal champion with her ability, of course having the druids in bear form, and really everything else. This is going to allow you to practically clear through the base like it's nothing, and you have so many troops to finish off the rest of the base. At number 3, we have to include super witches, as they are one of the strongest troops in the game, especially with the fireball. Speaking of which, you're going to be starting this attack off by using a warden walk, a small warden walk to start off. You do want to make sure that you're clearing any outside defenses, and this way it allows you to use 1 to 2 invisibility spells to send the fireball in. This way you can use 1 to 2 earthquake spells to remove multiple defenses within that compartment. Of course, did I maybe waste 1 of the invisibilities? Sure, but the idea here is to set up a quick funnel. This then allows you to lure over your warden and continue with the super witches. From there, you want to make sure that you are securing the super witches to go in, so using the siege barrack is a great siege machine to set the funnel. Of course, you do want to make sure that you're luring the warden over with the queen, and that way you can use the rest of your druids with the super witches to break in with a super wall breaker. Now, you can have your king set up even more of a funnel, and on this base in particular, we can use him to dive in for the town hall while the super witches are dealing with the rest of the base. You may also want to use the giant arrow in a strategy like this, especially if there are invisibility spell towers. That is definitely something that is worth activating a little bit later on in the attack. But even if you miss, you can still get some sort of damage on the base, which does help a ton. You really want to just let your super witches do their own thing while having rage spells for them, and you can have your barbarian king with the Valkyries from the CC go in for something like the town hall. In any case, you just want to make sure that you are keeping everything healed up with the healer puppets maybe, while also being sure to have the rage spells continuously provide support and damage. Of course, with the Barbarian King, you want to use his ability in order to clear through multiple buildings, even the town hall, and you could even use a rage spell for the Valkyries that are within there. Other than that, the super witches will be able to clear through a majority of the base, and this kind of leaves your back-end royal champion. And in some instances, you might not even need the back-end royal champion, which does make this a pretty easy strategy. But other than this, you'll have more than enough troops. It just shows how dominant super witches are right now. At number 2, we had to include something with the dragons, so the Super Archer Blimp Hydra is definitely the most popular. So you're going to start off with either an Ice Hound or a Lava Hound with the Blimp. This is going to tank for long enough to use a free spell on something like a Sweeper and gets your Blimp deeper into the base. This allows you to drop an invisibility, wait 4 seconds, use 2 clones, drop a rage, another invisibility, and time your invisibility spells every 4 seconds. This is going to allow you to clear massive value. If you can remove the enemy CC, that's even better. This is going to get you a lot of value regardless of where the town hall is on the base. With that said, you're going to set up one side of your funnel with your heroes, so having the king to go in for a couple of defenses, while your archer queen could use her giant arrow to remove 1 to 2 air defenses. This allows you to get a lot of value from this before you send in the Hydra, where your king can basically set up a perfect funnel and stay alive for a lot longer thanks to his Vamp Stash and Spiky Ball ability, saving your dragons on the back end of the base. This really just leaves the dragons to start moving in. You can use 1 dragon to kind of cut off the funnel, but you've got your dragons, balloons, and dragon riders to start moving in. Now, since you don't have any spells in this, you're basically just letting them do their own thing. You do want to make sure that you have the healing tome though on your dragons. The rage gem might be tempting, but the healing tome is always going to be better. It's gonna keep everything alive, and it should be pretty overkill to help clear through the rest. This then allows you to have your back-end royal champion move in. She can help clear out any air defenses. The spiky ball might be able to also help with that in terms of helping the funneling. And this kind of also allows you to have that royal champion haste and hog to get plenty of value. Overall, you should be able to very quickly lower down the DPS on the base and clear through plenty of damage, including the monolith, with all of the dragons and dragon riders you have. And of course, at number 1, we have to include one of the strongest strategies that's impossible to stop, Root Rider spam. But this time with 5 overgrowth spells. All you have to do is set up the funnel. Your king and queen is going to be used on one side, while your siege barrack is used on the other side. I'd also recommend using a couple super barbarians to help clear out some of the buildings and control your heroes to move in with your Root Rider spam. So yes, from here, you are pretty much just going to be sending in the rest of the Root Riders alongside the Apprentice Warden, your Druids, and the Grand Warden. In this Grand Warden's abilities, you have no Eternal Tome, but you've got Overgrowth spells, and those Overgrowth spells are going to be used in the core of the base. Other than this, you want to make sure that you are keeping a pretty big group going around the base with your Root Riders. Other than this, you're just going to let everything go around. So if you're able to clear multiple defenses, that is really going to help. You should use an early Grand Warden ability in order to make sure that after the Druid's healing, the next healing is going to be from the Warden. You've got Valkyries from the CC, and of course you're just going to keep everything working around. With that Royal Champion though, you want to use her to provide support with your Root Riders as you work around, but of course you also have something like Freeze in order to freeze up specifically defenses like an Expo, Multi-Inferno, the Multi-Archer Tower, etc. Other than this, you're just going to still use your Overgrowth spells on top of the Town Hall. And as you get closer to finishing off the rest of the base, you might not need that last Overgrowth. So sometimes it kind of just wastes a little bit of time. But for the most part, once you've cleared everything, you just have to really wait for the Overgrowth to expire. Just make sure that you don't use the Overgrowth too late, or else you might actually time fail. Once the Overgrowth expires, they're just going to be able to overwhelm the entire rest of the base. And this can even work if you're a Town Hall 15 hitting up for a Town Hall 16. These 5 attacks are extremely strong, and they work at a variety of Town Hall levels unless you don't have Root Riders. Other than this, I definitely recommend commenting down below what your favorite army is at Town Hall 16 or other Town Hall levels, but YouTube says this video is also the best video that you need to be watching right now.